Hello, welcome to this new episode of Continuum Gaming, and in this episode we are going to have a look at 3 different Windows 10 mobile games again, which are going to be in this episode Find the Difference, Be Run and Meme vs. Rage. My name is Gerald. As always, I've got a couple of different things with me, but before we are starting with all this, just to let you know, to install all these games we are talking about in this episode, you will have to go through a special routine because the Windows 10 mobile store has been more or less been shut down. It's not really the case, but something like that happened. And because of that, you will have to go and have a look at the corner up there. There I have a couple of videos, and one of them is going to be an instruction guide, more or less, how to install stuff on your Windows 10 mobile phone still. Anyway, if you are searching for the different links for the games, you can find them in the description of this video. There I'm going to give them to you, and with them you should be able to install everything. Other than that, of course, in my episodes I'm always using some kind of a mouse, which is this one, a Bluetooth mouse in this case, and I will use a Bluetooth keyboard, which is this one, a Foldable keyboard by Microsoft, and that one is Bluetooth enabled and will be connected to my, in this case, Windows 10 mobile phone, which is this one, a Lumia 950 XL, and it has a Mozo cover at the back with this kind of a wood texture there. And this one is running everything we are seeing here because I connected it with the USB-C connector at the bottom here, and the Continuum technology more or less helps us to give it to this hub. This hub is the USB-C dock by Microsoft, more or less, so the Microsoft connector or dock or something, I'm not sure at the moment, HD dock 500 or something it's called. Anyway, this one is connected by an HDMI cable to the TV, and like that we get this desktop-like looking experience, but it's still done with the smartphone and nothing else is going to produce any kind of images I'm showing you here. So if you want to know more about all this, there are videos up there again too. And other than that, I would say let's start with the first game. The first game is going to be, in this case, Find the Difference. So it's a different finding game. Pretty nice one, especially for younger persons, I would say. For that, I'm just going to go to my All Apps list here. And in here you'll see we have a couple of different ones which are going to be already shown, and others are going to be hidden out, or better to say grayed out. And the grayed out ones can only be played when we are going to the mirror mode. So not the Continuum mode, which is this desktop-like experience, but a mirror mode, which is more or less what you can do with any kind of smartphone. It doesn't matter with the self-visualized one, with, of course, the Windows 10 mobile one, and of course with Android ones, or I think even Apple should be able to do that. And yeah, for that I'm just going to go to my All Apps list first to see which kind of games can be played where. If it's in the Continuum mode and you see it like this, so it's really just active and normal, you can click on it, it's going to work in the Continuum mode. If you are not seeing it like that, so something is blended out like this, it can have a couple of different reasons, but one of the most common ones is that it's not available for this mode we are in there. And you can already see it, Meme vs. Rage, the last game of our episode today, is not being played on the normal Continuum mode. Okay, so Find the Difference is the name of the game. You already can see it, there are a couple of them, and all of them can be played. And what we are going to play in this episode is Find the Difference Plus for Kids. That's more or less the name of the real game. And it's really a kids game, more or less. I pretty much like it exactly for that. Just to let you know, it's a little bit hard to play on the smartphone itself, because on the smartphone screen you will see that you will have all the time one of the little characters, which are just side characters helping you or having fun with you, whatever, is going to be all the time in the way of your screen. On the big screen, nothing happens, that's totally fine. In the other one, it's always a little bit overlaying over the other parts of the game itself, which is a little bit of a bummer. It still works, it's not like you can't play it, but especially if you're doing it for kids, it might be a little bit troublesome, so they're not going to find every hint and stuff like that that you might see otherwise. Okay, anyway, as you already can see, it's very child-friendly or kid-friendly, and if I just click on this button, it's going to start. This would mute the game, and that's more or less all you can do here. So let's click on that. And here you can see that little side character I told you about. So in the not landscape mode like this one, you're going to see always this image. It's fine, everything's working there, but this little guy will be somewhere here. So that's a little bit of a misfortune there. Otherwise, on the big screen, perfectly fine, works like it should. Okay, and now what is the difference game? You just have to search in the images for different differences, of course, and what you can see here, you have 5 of them in this image. And with those 5, they are going to be shown there. So for instance, this is one, the sun is on the one image, on the other one it's not. You're going to click on it, and as you can see, we have one of the points now filled. And so you have to search for them, of course. Here's another wave, which would be the problem, probably. In the end, if you are clicking here or here, it doesn't matter, you can do it wherever you want and wherever you find it, and of course then just try to find the differences in the different games. As you can see, something is happening with this ear here, so I'm just going to click on that, and we already have 4 of the 5 ones now found. Let's see what the last one would be. Sometimes it's even a little bit hard for me to see where the differences are, because this one seems to be a smaller one. So that worked out, we got all done. The more you are tipping on stuff that is not really there, or what is not a difference, the more you are going to lose points more or less, and after a while you are going to get a lower grade, of course. So try to make it as good from the start on. Hello? It's color, right? As possible, otherwise you're going to lose points in this case. And of course, just try to find everything in the picture that is really different. And as mentioned before, sometimes it's very obvious, like these parts, but sometimes it's a little bit harder to find. And for instance, now, these 2 ones are already a little bit harder. Here is something, the ear is different, if you have a look at that. And now I'm just going to see if I can get the last one right too. Interesting, I don't see much. Especially for kids, it's not totally hard or something, it's not frustrating and stuff like that, so it's a perfect game. But still, do you see it? Probably you are laughing at me or about what I'm doing here at the moment, but somewhere has to be a 5th difference. Till now it often was something like the nose was smaller or something. That's a little bit hard to find, but still it can be found. And I'm just not seeing where the difference is. Perfect. Nope, really, I don't. So I'm just going to try to get help here. If we do that, okay, we can see it. It's more or less at the chest here. He has some kind of part, and as you can see, he's going to give you hints. And if you really don't know where, you can click on the help part. Of course, you're going to lose points for that. So if you're using that, he is going to more or less subtract, I think, 1 star with every help you're going to try from him. Yeah, and this is more or less the game. He's going to show you different kinds of games, or pictures in this case, very child-friendly, very kid-friendly. You can really do this, and it's a nice little game for everybody who wants to just give your child some kind of a game to play with, and it's totally fine. Okay, so let's have a look at the second game in our episode, which is going to be B-Run. So let's go down again to my apps list here. If you're wondering why this part is not shown, it's an overlay of my screen. Probably I would have to disconnect and reconnect it or something like that. Sometimes that happens, it's very random. So if you have to just disconnect, reconnect, it should be fine. But I'm not going to do that because I really can outrun that or use it like this, for instance. As you can see, this game can be played on the big screen and can be played on the small screen, and it's one of the games where I really tell you, don't play it on the big screen because it's much harder if you want to play it there. I'm just going to try it here. But as you can see, you have this little bee, and he's going to go with a click, probably, no? Okay, he's not going to do anything because he seems to be a touch-sensitive game. Some games of them are like that too, so you can't do anything, even if you're using the touchpad, for instance. He's not going to register anything from you. So, to overcome this, we can go to the mirror mode and go like this. So let's go there, go up here, click on your 3-point menus, and then you can go to the display settings. Go down below a little bit, there is the advanced or extended settings, and if you go to please mirror my screen here, everything should be fine. Now you can just go back to your all apps list. You can of course still use your mouse and stuff like that if you want to on the mirror screen. That's totally fine and works. And now we can just restart it and it should work in a better fashion. Put it over. And I'm not going to bother with the keyboard and the mouse in this case. I'm just going to play it on the screen here, because that's just how it's meant to be in this game. If you click on that one now, we should be able to let him fly by just clicking. And as you can see here, it's working. And all you will have to do here now is you are trying to make sure to not hit these enemy bees, more or less, which are flying there. Ooh. And I did. Try to get all the different sugar cubes you're seeing there. That's more or less what we are talking about here. Let's start again. And the score is going to increase with all the different sugar cubes you're going to collect, more or less. So let's see what we can do here. Why did I die there? I'm not sure. Of course, it's more or less like you can fall down, and if you're falling to the parts there, that's bad. And all you have to do now to fly or to more or less control where you are going is more or less a little bit, I hit the top screen there, it's a little bit like, for instance, a Flappy Bird clone or something. You press your finger on the screen, hold it for a couple of seconds or a couple of milliseconds probably, and then he's going to go up. So all the time you're pressing, he's going to go up. If you're not pressing, he's going to slowly degrade in a lifelike fashion, whatever. It's more or less, I think it's more or less like a force would work in real life too. And this is more or less the feeling you can see here already. If I click there, he is going to go up. And of course, to stay more or less at the same part or at the same time, height more or less, you will have to do it like this. The smaller or the bigger flies, I don't think it's really makes any kind of difference if it's a big one or a small one. They are going to fly around. Sometimes they are moving, sometimes they are just standing more or less still. It's more or less meant to look like a real bee would fly. So they often just go up and down a little bit. That's probably normal for any kind of insect that is flying. And so just try to get all the different cubes here. It's a very, very easy to play game, especially on this kind of screen. If you're playing it on the screen, it's much easier than trying to play it with your mouse, especially because the mouse didn't work anyway. But even if you have this kind of game, I already know that from some Flappy Bird screen plays which work on the big screen, it's very hard to control stuff like that with the mouse and pretty easy with your touch fingers. Okay, in the end, what you already can see here, it's going to be a little bit repetitive after a while. That's just like it is. I think my highest score I achieved, because it's not very hard to do, was 40 till now. We're not going to play it till 40, that was very close. Sometimes there are going to be more enemies, so I think it's more or less, created randomly how many enemies are going to come there, stuff like that. I'm not exactly sure about that. Maybe there is some kind of algorithm or so that says, okay, if you're at, let's say, 30 points or whatever, you will have to figure out how to get around more enemies or something like that could happen. I'm not exactly sure, but as you can see, pretty easy to overcome. So if you want to give that to a child to play, it should work. Maybe, only maybe, sometimes it might be better to give them a book or something to read, but yeah, we all know it. They don't really want to do that. And so this might be a better fetch there. Okay, so I just hit my high score, I think. And as you can see, sometimes it's going to be harder and harder because the sugar cubes, for instance, if you try to get them, are flying very close to an enemy, like this one. I'm pretty sure it's very hard to get that. I got it for some kind of reason, so it can't be that hard. But in the end, here you can see it, it's going harder and harder on me to get more points here, because I really have to try to avoid all the enemies there, and that's a little bit hard. I hit the roof, but as you can see, we got the high score for this game in, yeah, what I did, of course. So it's not I think it's not a worldwide high score or something, but only one that is only for yourself. Okay, so try it out if you like this kind of games. I think it's a fine one. It works. It really does, or yeah, more or less does what it is, but it's really a simple one too. So just see if that is something you want to play and want to work with. Okay. Well, yeah, if I click on the Continuum app, then again I can switch back, which isn't something I want to do, because I already know that the last game we are going to talk about in this episode is of course going to be one that can only be played in the mirror mode. So go in there again, mirror mode, there we go. And what we want to play in this episode is of course a game called Meme versus, I think, Scare or something, I'm not sure, let's see. Meme versus Rage, there we are. And if we have a look at that, it's a pretty fine game actually. I don't know why I didn't find it before or something, but I really think it's a pretty fine one. We will have to wait a little till it's loaded, but in the end, what this game is all about, it's more or less one of those, yeah, round-based ones, or not really, it's really not a round-based one, but it's more or less like Plants versus Monsters and stuff like that, or Plants versus Aliens or whatever. So you have this kind of guys which are going to fight against, at the start at least, all the Rage ones. So it's a little bit funny because it's all memes and stuff like that with this kind of stick figure people here. And of course, at the start, you're going to fight against the dog there. And you are all these guys. In the end, you can get them and try to work with them. And in the end, it's something like a tower defense game in an easier fashion or something. So let's try this out. It's, even if it's in mirror mode like this one is going to cover up all the screen. So it's a pretty fine little game for that. And what I can do here, of course, I can, for instance, mute this game. I don't think you have to, but if you want to do that, there are music mutes, and there is this mute for sounds. So if you, for instance, fire, or somebody is firing at something, then you're going to see it like this. And if we are just going to click on this part, we are going to be in. And here you can already see there are the enemies running against us. First time was with dogs, now it seems to be something different. And what you really have to do here is, first off, click on this. And now, it's again with dogs, okay. And now you will have to defend your home, more or less. That's all we are going to do here. It's all very memey. And yeah, first off, try to get those, because those are going to increase your level of people you can put on the field. These are going to be the different field guys, more or less, so the defenders in the end. And they have a couple of different classes, let's say it like that. So first off, click on that, put him here, and there is one guy with a Kalashnikov in this case, who is firing at that rage dog which is running against it. And I'm just going to turn down the volume a little bit. In the end, all you can see here is we have a couple of different fields where they are going to run to, and you will have to cover all of them. So none of those guys will fire up or something, so we will have to put something in there too. And in between you will always have to cover up a couple of fields there with different kinds of defenders in this case. This more or less is how much of the wave has already passed. So in the end we are really at the start at, I don't know, 15%, 10% or something of this wave. So make sure to get people up there. And very important, you can not only put them here, but you can put them at any field more or less. In general, especially with this far-ranging weaponry, whatever you are putting there, it's a little bit better to put them a little bit before that. Just to let you know, those guys are going to be hit very fast and die very fast, while those are a little bit less pronounced to that. So you have more or less one who is going to try to survive longer. You have more or less give me those please, I need them. There is some kind of a timer on how often you can, a cooldown timer more or less, how often you can put people on there. And now we are not covered up or something, because of course if there are many of the dogs running against you, then you will need more than only one of those guys. So let's see what we can do here. If I put him here, it's all about a decision what you want to do. So this one really can cover up more of the hits from the enemy, but at the other or whatever. But the problem is, if you don't put him or do put him too far ahead, then he's going to be more or less dying pretty fast, because the other enemies are going to be there and can very frequently hit him, while there's nobody firing behind him. On the other side, if we don't put something in here, for instance, we have the double of the firepower now, firing at them. So you're not firing at yourself or something. Let's get that. And like this, if you really put up a couple of them behind each other, you're going to get a lot of firepower going on here. If you put that one too far ahead, you're going to lose him very fast. If you put it too much to the left, more or less, then you don't have any kind of space to put in all the firepower you need. So it's a little bit of a tactical feeling, whatever you want to call that. I'm not sure if you really can call this tactical, because it's very easy to overcome. There's not too much to do against that, but still make sure that you're doing that. In addition to all these firepower parts here, you have bombs, for instance. They will cost you an arm and a leg, more or less, especially if you're using those parts here. Those are more or less the power-ups, but sometimes you just have to. So if we get one more here, that one for instance, now we can use this. If I click on that, put it here, come on. I didn't need it, but here for instance, if we do that, you can see there is going to be a bomb which will go up and fight more or less the enemies too. In the end, they're dying from that, at least at this stage of the game. And of course, it's going to be harder and harder with each and every wave you're playing from this game. So after a while, it's going to be pretty hard, I would say. Just to show you what can happen here if you are, for instance, putting up some kind of this kind of wave. I'm not even sure why we are not using this, because why should I use that one? It's 35 points, more or less, or whatever, people which I have to put in. These are only 15, and I can use them at a much greater degree. So in the end, that is much more stronger than all the other ones here. So I could use that, but I think it's only once in a game or something, so that might be a difference. But in the end, you often don't need anything else, so use that one if you can, and after that maybe that one, because it's just more expensive. Yeah, and so this is more or less the game. As you can see, the wave already finished in the end. We got 3 stars out of it and got a little bit of money back, more or less, so you can do a little bit of different things with it. If you can see that, I can put that in, get this one back online again. Something like that can be bought with that. And otherwise, click on quit to go out, or click on that one to play the next part in the end. And yeah, this is more or less a game. I like it pretty much. It's a nice little one, so try it out. I think you're not wasting your time with this one, because it's fun to see that and work with it. Other than that, I would say we are through with the episode with the different games. I hope you had fun with the episode. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe to the channel, please do that down below, that's fine too. And of course, if you have any kind of questions, comments, whatever, put them down below into the commentary section. And other than that, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, see you in the next episode, and bye. Bye!